The learning event, application, and practical experience uses the now widely adopted and recognized approach of learning by doing. We are, of course, talking about an active approach. Let's take a look together at how it works. During the practical experience, students actually engage in trying something new. They attempt to carry out an action or activity that they have probably never done before. This is when they are faced with feedback, that is, the outcome of the action they performed. And it is precisely through this cycle of experience and feedback that learning takes place. In fact, we can say that knowledge is created by transforming experience. But why are we focusing so much on this approach? Certainly because it is an active approach, which therefore engages the student and gives them the opportunity to put into practice all the skills they possess. A student involved in a hands-on experience cannot rely solely on the theoretical knowledge learned in class, but must also apply a whole range of so-called soft skills, such as the ability to communicate, to work in a team, and to manage conflicts. Moreover, they might also apply to the practical experience a range of skills acquired from other experiences or borrowed from other subjects of study. And this is essential nowadays because it helps develop flexibility and creativity, skills that are necessary to keep up with the rapid changes in the world around us. When thinking about activities involving practical experience, most of us almost certainly recall the image of some experiment carried out in the science lab at university or school. In reality, however, there are many other options. If we consider experiences carried out in educational settings, such as the lab or classroom, we can also include activities like gamification or prototype creation using physical or digital tools, as well as the use of virtual labs and remotely controlled laboratories. In particular, these new types of laboratories are playing an increasingly important role. In fact, remotely controlled laboratories allow for real experiments to be conducted, but without the need to be physically present. And this is very useful for giving all students the opportunity to engage in experimentation. Virtual laboratories, on the other hand, make it possible to simulate real-world scenarios that are difficult to reproduce in an educational setting. For example, dealing with maintenance activities on an oil plant. In addition to educational experiences, we can also complement them with a series of highly effective external experiences. I'm referring to field visits, short internships, or apprenticeships that allow students to put into practice skills, techniques, or processes that cannot be carried out elsewhere. At the beginning of this lesson, we mentioned feedback and said that the response we get from experience is fundamental to learning. This is because, in order to transform experience into knowledge, the student must engage in a process of reflection and metacognition. Let's take a look together at how the teacher can facilitate this process by providing feedback to the student. As a first rule, let's remember that effective feedback is timely. Then, let's keep in mind that it must be a true tool that the teacher provides to the students. Therefore, it must allow the student to easily understand whether they acted correctly or not. It should also offer them the opportunity to reflect on their progress and difficulties in order to understand how to best approach the learning process. Another suggestion: feedback is valuable, but in some situations, such as in very large classes, it can be truly challenging for the teacher to reach all students. So let's not forget that in an experiential learning context, feedback can also be provided by the students themselves through peer review processes. Of course, in this case, the teacher will need to share with the class a set of guidelines on how and when to provide feedback, and schedule a series of dedicated moments for this specific activity.